Hey, good morning and welcome back to the channel. So today we have a very colorful looking Sudoku, as you can see on our screen here. Now it is called Bridges by Timotab. As you can see, these all appear to be within a shape of a bridge. So it makes plenty of sense. As you can also see, we have a lot of different colors. So we're going to have a lot of different rule sets in terms of our lines. So let's get into that because it might take a minute to go through these rules. So we've got normal Sudoku rules apply, which, as we all know, every row, every column, and every 3x3 box must contain the digits 1 through 9 each. We've got Renban lines, so these purple lines. Digits may not repeat on a purple line, and the line must contain an unordered set of consecutive digits. The Renban lines in rows 3 and 4 are 2-cell Renbans that cross. Okay, so that's just telling us that these 4 digits are not on the same, Renban line. They're separate Renbans. They just happen to cross. And then going back to what Renbans are, so if this was a 1, 2, they'd have to be 4 consecutive digits on this line. If it was a 1, 2, 3, 4, let's say, they don't have to be in order. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, or something like that. It doesn't matter. As long as they're consecutive, they do not have to be in order. Then we've got region sums, which are these blue lines like this. A region sum box borders divide a blue line into segments of the same sum. So wherever we cross over a box into another box, that divides the region sum line. And then the 2 digits in this instance that are on this side of this box divider, when added up, must be the same value that these on the other side are. Now we've got our green German whispers lines, which are all these guys. Along a green line, adjacent digits must differ by at least 5. So whatever this digit is, these 2 digits have to be 5 away from it. Then we have Dutch whispers, which is very similar to German whispers, and these are these orange lines. Along an orange line, adjacent digits must differ by at least 4. So that would mean that this digit has to be at least 4 away from these 2 other digits. Now we've got Kropki dots, so digits separated by a white dot are consecutive. So let's look at these two here. We've got a couple of white dots. Whatever this digit is has to be 1 away from these. These 2 have to be consecutive. And then the last rule is digits separated by a black dot are on a 1 to 2 ratio, and not all dots are given. So looking at this Kropki dot here, whatever this digit is, this one has to be either half or double of the other digit, i.e. a 1 to 2 ratio. And then like I said, we have the not all dots are given, which is just telling us that there is no negative constraint. So it's possible that these 2 digits, let's say, were in a 1 to 2 ratio. They don't have a black dot between them, but that's perfectly fine. No worries. Don't have a negative constraint. So those are our rules. And like I said, there's a lot of color going on here. So let's get started and see where this takes us. So a good question is, where the heck do we start? Because we've got a ton of stuff going on. And that's a very good question. I'm going to have to take a look at this for a second to get an idea. Well, there's a few places we could start. I don't know which one is going to be the correct one at this time. One thing that usually jumps out at me is German whispers. As we know, German whispers have a few conditions to them. One of them being that you can never put a 5 on a German whispers, because if you put a 5 on them, you have to put a 0 or a 10 next to it, and that doesn't jive with normal Sudoku rules. Although I don't see how that particular item is going to help us here. The only thing it really shows me is that one of these 2 has to be a 5, which isn't very useful at this time. A couple of other things on German whispers are 4s and 6s are very limited. So you couldn't put a 4 or a 6, let's say, in any of these boxes here, because if you put either one, let's just say a 4, both of these digits have to be a 9, which doesn't work via Sudoku. If you did 6, the same issue comes up where both of these have to be 1 because they have to be 5 apart from each other. So that does limit this a bit, because we just proved that none of these could be 5, 4, or 6, but it's not quite enough. We know 5, 4, and 6 have to go out in these boxes, but we still have one digit somewhere else that picks up this last one, so I don't think that's going to do much for us. Another thing we can look at is, well, I just saw one thing that I didn't notice off the top of my head, is we've got a black Kropki dot on a Dutch whisper. So what does that mean? Well, let's just look at black Kropki dots. There's only certain combinations of digits you can put on black Kropki dots. You can do 1, 2, 2, 4, 4, 8, and 3, 6. Well, out of all of those things I've just listed, only 2 sets of those digits actually are 4 apart, which is 4 and 8. So these two have to be 4 and 8. Now, what does that do for us? I'm not quite sure, but it's something. No, it doesn't really do much, I don't think, because whichever one of these is an 8, the other one could be 1, 2, 3, or 4, depending on where it lies. Clearly, this one couldn't be the 4, but that's neither here nor there. The other thing is if you have whichever one is a 4, one of these has to be a 9. And actually, that does help us, which is nice. We know one of these is a 4 on a Dutch whisper. So the only thing that can ever go with, well, that's not, is it, yes, it does work out. Not quite as I was originally had it in my head, but it's going to work out. So whichever one of these is a 4, the other digit either has to be an 8 or a 9. Those are the only 2 digits that are 4 away from 4. Now, could we ever put an 8 or a 9 here? Well, we can't put an 8 because we know we have an 8 here anyway. Could we put a 9? Well, no, we can't put a 9 because this is also on a region sum. So if we put a 9 here, we'd have to at least put 1 and 2 here, which means this would have to be 12, which leads into our region sum lines, where usually a good place to look at region sum lines is where you have a single digit that has to add up to multiple digits. So what we've just determined, I guess, is that this digit either equals 8 or 9. And then therefore this one has to be the 4 and this one has to be the 8. Now, if that's the case, this digit here has to be from 1, 2, or 3. It can't be 4 clearly because there's already a 4 here. Can we make any further determination on this? Is a good question. Because there's multiple ways to make 9, and there's multiple ways to make 8 on a 3-cell region sum line that equals to a single digit, clearly. For 9, well, okay, we can make one thing clear. There has to be a 1 on this line somewhere. And why is that? Well, if you have an 8, you have to have a 1 on it. There's no way to not have a 1, because the next 3 digits is 2, 3, 4, which equals 9. Now, normally on a region sum without any other modifications, if you had a 9 on a single one, you could do a 2, 3, 4 here, but we already have a 4. So therefore, we have to have a 1. There's no way around it. So one of these is a 1. Now, what are the other options? So if you have 8, you can only make 8 two ways on a 3-cell line, which is 1, 2, 5 or 1, 3, 4. Now you can't use the 4 again, so it would have to be 1, 2, 5 would be the only option if this was 8. 9, on the other hand, is a little bit different because you could still do 1, 2, 6 and 1, 3, 5. And I don't think that's enough information to let us do anything else over here. And I don't quite see what more we can do up here at this moment. So maybe there's something else we can jump to. And that is one of the items about having a ton of information in a puzzle, is that it can be sometimes a little bit difficult to figure out exactly where you need to put your eyes. Not necessarily a bad thing, it's just that it can cause that type of misunderstanding. Not misunderstanding is really not the right word, but I think you know what I mean, that you can't say, oh, well, this clearly is the place we have to start at. You have to kind of jump around, look around, find the right spot, and then continue from there. So where's maybe another good spot to look? Maybe down here, because we have the same region line type of concept. We've got a single digit that has to equal 3 other digits. So this has to be at least 6, 7, 8, 9. And my mouse will work eventually. Now, we also have these black and white Kropki dots on this region sum line, which is going to give us, we're going to be able to pry this down to a couple of options, maybe more depending on what we figure out. Like we've mentioned up here on black Kropki dots, it's either 1, 2, 2, 4, 4, 8, or 3, 6. Well, can we ever put a 4, 8 on here? The answer is no, because that's already 12, and we still have to have another digit, so it's clearly above a maximum of 9. 3, 6 is the exact same way. We've already got 9 with 3, 6, and you'd have to add some other digit, so you can't do that. So this has to be from 1, 2, and 4 in some way. So there has to be a 2 on it either way. It's either 1, 2, or it's 2, 4 in some order. Well, looking at this, actually this can never be a 1. If I put a 1 here, I'd have to put a 2 on both of these. Now, could this ever be a 1? Interestingly, no, it can't. Okay. We've got a renban here, so there's a ton of different lines that are all kind of working together here right now. And I guess that makes a lot of sense to bridges, because think about engineering-wise, every little tiny thing about a bridge, when you put it all together, it has to work in conjunction for the bridge to stand. So I think that's a very apt title, not only for the visuals, but for apparently what seems to be happening here. So if this was a 1, stop my rambling for a second, we would be forced to put a 2 in both of these situations. That would break, because this is on a renban and this is on a black Kropki dot. So we don't have a 1 there. So we actually do have a 2-4 pair. Now that we have a 2-4 pair, that's already 6. This can't be a 6. Now, if this is a 2-4, if this is 2-4, this has to either be 1, 3, or 5. Now, 2-4, like we said, is already 6, so we can't put a 5 on it. So this is either 1 or 3. So 2, 4, and 1 equals 7. 2, 4, and 3 equals 9, so this can't be 8. Okay, we're whittling it down. Renban. Can we do anything with this renban? This is 2 or 4, so it has to be either 1, 3, or 5. This is 4, 5, 2, 1. That all works. So I don't know that we can do much more with that one. How about this German whispers line? We know this is a low digit, so this has to be a high digit. It has to at least be 7, because 2 is the lowest, so this is 7, 8, or 9. Is there anything more we can do with our combinations of lines and digits here? If this was a 2, this would be a 4, this would be a guaranteed 9. If this was a 2, I mean, if this was a 4, sorry, I already did the 2, 4. If this was a 4, this would be a 2. This would either be a 3 or a 5. If it's a 3, though, we can get 7, 8, or 9. So I don't think that does what we want it to do. Is there anything else here that seems to be blatantly obvious? I don't see anything. So maybe we have to use, oh, well, maybe we can use this 2-4 pair. Because we've got another renban over here. It's 4 digits long. Now, we've already got a 2 and a 4 here, and we've got a 1, 3 over here. So we can never do 1, 2, 3, 4 on this renban. We can't do 2, 3, 4, 5 on this renban. We can't do 3, 4, 5, 6 on this renban. And we can't do 4, 5, 6, 7 on the renban. So this has to be from 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. Well, in fact, we can't ever put a 9 on it either, can we? Because if we put a 9 on this renban, It means we have a 9, 8, 7, 6 in some order. But we've just said we've used 7 and 9, so what the heck can this be? So let's get rid of our 9. So that gives us a 5, 6, 7, 8 quad, which therefore tells us this has to be a 9. Okay. Well, that tells us this has to be a 3, because we had 2, 4, which equals 6 here, so this is 3. And we get our doot going off in the corner. Also now, look at this row. We're missing one digit, and it has to be a 1, so it has to go there. Just notice that this is actually a German whispers. There's a lot going on in this little box here. A lot of things converging, so this can never be a 5. Now it could still be either 6, 7s, or 8s. Except this 3 didn't do anything because it doesn't tell us what either of these two has to be, because the 3 still allows us to be 7, 8, 9. It still allows us to be 2 or 4. Can we do anything with our 9 in this box? Because we can't put a 9 on a black Kropki dot, remember? So one of these has to be a 9. Another thing I noticed that might help at some point, but I don't see how it does at the moment. And I am jumping around because I'm just trying to figure out where I'm going. So if you look at these two region sum lines, they span the entire puzzle. We know the digits 1 through 9 must occur once each in every row. Therefore, we also know that the entire row equals 45, and we've got region sums. So every one of these sections has to be equal, and they have to equal 45. The only way that works is if they're all equal to 15. And again, like I said, I don't think there's enough information there just yet for that to actually be of use. Or is there? But up here. That's an odd little thing if this is correct. Let me explain what I'm looking at. So I just had a little thought up here. We have to put a 5 somewhere. And this is going to go into our concepts of German whispers. We know we can't put a 5 on a German whisper, so none of these can be 5. And I'm more looking at this row right here right now. What do we also know about our German whispers? We know that 4s and 6s are very hard to put on a German, well, not very hard to put on a German whisper, but there are a lot of limitations to what they can be. Because you cannot put a 4, let's say, here, because you'd have to put a 9 on both sides of it. The same would go for a 6. You'd have to put a 1 on each side of it. Now, what the heck does that have to do with this? Well, it tells me that we can't put a 5 on any of these digits. Because if we did, we would be forced to either put a 4 or a 6 on one of these, which I've already just said is not possible. So we actually rule out 5 from a lot of places, but not quite enough, which is disappointing. Because we can still put a 5 in either one of these. And looking at this German whisper up here, I don't think I mentioned this, but I might have. That one of these two has to be a 5. But I guess that doesn't really do much for me, does it? It's an interesting concept, but I don't see how it can be used at the moment. All right, so we have some ammunition for later, I think, is what I'm looking at. What else is going on here? Is there anything we can do with these? No, maybe there is. In fact, I think there is something we can do with these black Kropki dots, and I probably should have seen it a little bit earlier, particularly when I got this 1 here. we know that 5, 7, and 9 can never go on a black Kropki dot. So that leaves 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 8. We can't use the 1 anymore because we've already done it here. So that leaves us 2, 3, 4, 6, and 8. Now, we have 2 separate black Kropki dot cells. So, what does that tell us? Well, I think what it's telling us is one of these has to be a 3, 6 pair. Because we cannot use the 1, we can no longer do like a 1, 2, and 4, 8 anymore. So we have to have a 3, 6 somewhere in here, which removes 6s from both of these. So we're guaranteed to have a 6 down here somewhere. Again, these are tending to be little. So we know we have to have a 2, a 3, and a 6 in these 4 cells. No, not 2. 4. There has to be a 3, 6 pair, and there's going to have to be either a 2, 4 or a 4, 8. One of the two. And we've got a 4 looking at us here, so this can't be 4s. So one of these is a 2 or an 8. Oh, well, here's an obvious thing I just noticed here. There's an 8 looking down here, so this has to be 7 now. Let's not forget our simple Sudoku when it shows its head, and this can't be 1. I tend to forget to do basic Sudoku sometimes when you're getting in depth in some of these where we've got a bunch of things going on at once. So anyway, looking back now here, this can never be an 8. So this has to be 5. This has to be 6. This has to be 8. So that was nice. That got things moving. What next do we need? We've got an 8 here that has to add up with some, maybe Dutch Whispers is going to be the better way to go about it. This is a 7. This can never be a 6. It can never be a 4. Now that doesn't mean this is a 3. This could either be a 2 or a 3. Can't be the 1. So that's either 2 or 3. This has to either be a 4 or a 6, and it can't be a 4. So am I saying this has to be a 6? Let's look at that real quick to make sure we didn't mess that up somehow. This is 7. This has to at least be 4 away from it, which is 1, 2, or 3. We can't use 1. It's 2 or 3. The only thing that can go with this 2 would be a 4, because we can't use the 1. We can't have a 4. The only thing that goes with 3 is a 6. So yeah, that has to be 3, 6. So let's get rid of our 3, 6. Now we know this has to be a 4, which means this has to be 2 or 8. And these are from 2, 8, and 9. I don't want to put that in just yet, I don't think. Now, what did we say about, do we have anything now, since we actually have some digits in here about our 15s, our region sum sections of 15? Now, if this was 4, 8, that would be 12. This would have to be a 3. That doesn't ever work, because we've already got a 3. So this has to be a 2. This has to be the 9 to get us to 15. And this has to be 8. That all seems like it works quite well. Let's get rid of our 3 and our 8 here for now. Now, can we do anything with this region sum? We know this is a 10. We've already got 8, so this has to be 2. 2 and 6 are 4 apart, so that does work. Awesome. We know we have to have, by Sudoku, a 3 up here somewhere, which means we also have to figure out how to get to 15, so we need 12 more somehow. How can we get to 12 with a 3 in hand? Let's think about that for a second. We can't use a 9 or an 8. We'd have to do 7, 7, 5. So this has to be a 357 because you can't do 6-6 clearly. Yeah, so this is 357. Interesting. It's starting to move now a little bit, which is going to give us some information here, which is going to clear this up, I think. We have to have 1, 6, and 8. Those do equal 15, so that's good. That makes this a 5, which means this has to be a 9. This 5 has to be consecutive, so we get our 4 and our 2, and we're going to get this digit as 7. These two digits have to be from 1 and 4. Let's put those in. Okay. Unexpected little bits of information that just poured through now. Let's see if we can keep this moving. This cannot be a 5 because it's on a German whisper. This is a 2, so this has to at least be 7, but it could be pretty much anything. This is either 3 or 7. That doesn't help too much. This would be 1, 6, or 8. Well, wait, let's look at this. I just saw this. Let's go back. This can't be 9. Let's get rid of that. Whether or not that really does us much good, I'm not quite sure. This has to be from 6, 7, or 8. Again, it can't be 9 because we've already used our 9 on this long renban, which is a 9-cell renban, so it has to have every single digit on it once each. What that means is there has to be a 7 on here somewhere. Once again, we're getting little bits of information coming in. This can't be 8 then. Oh, wait, sorry. I was thinking about that backwards. Forget what I said. If this was 6, this would have to be 1. Now this would have to be 2, and that breaks. So this can't be 6. If this is 8, this has to be from 1, 2, or 3. Which is, once again, we can't have 1, so let's get rid of that. If this is 1, this just has to be from 6, can't be 7, 8, or 9. So that's pretty, well, this can't be 8 because it forced this to either be 7 or 9, and it sees both of them. So let's get rid of 8. Still not a great thing that I wanted to necessarily put in there, but it is what it is. Okay. Where next? We've done all of these. I think we've done all of this stuff. Just making sure everything's still working. It does appear to be. Now, is there anything Sudoku-wise that's going to give us a quick little jolt? Because we have a couple of things looking into this box. So we know one of these has to be 4. We've got 2 8s looking in, so one of these has to be 8. But that's kind of it. Okay. That didn't look like it did much for us. Again, either one of these could still be 4 because we could have 9 in either one of those. We didn't rule out a 5 out of any of these or either of these as we had previously looked at. I don't think this renban's going to do, or this Kropki dot's going to do a whole lot just yet. I don't know that I really want to start marking everything that this could be either. Okay, so I've hit another little snag in the road. Well, this can't be 9, so let's get rid of that. Again, sitting on a 9 here. There's nothing preventing any of the options off of this one from being here, so I don't want to get into that too much. Well, this can't be 6 because it sees a 6. Okay, let's do that. This is actually a 7-8 pair. Let's get rid of, well, let's leave that 8 there because it's looking at this box. So if this is a 7-8 pair, this can't be an 8. And we've got to find places for some digits along this renban, but I the options are still quite high as to what can go where. Like a 1 could go anywhere still. The 2 could go most places still. Same with the 3, 4, the 5, 6, and, well, 7 and 8 and 9 are already done. So, okay. So I don't see a place to continue this moving upward just yet. Is there anything with our 5s again that we can start ruling things out? That's not a 5. Or am I somehow going to be able to jump up to here and take on what I thought was going to be a bunch of different options for these 8s and 9s? I don't see how those are working. Okay. So remember, there has to be 5s in those positions, or one of those, 2 of those 4 positions I just showed there. 4, maybe the 4 is going to be more useful now on this German whisper, because it can't be here anymore. Well, it never could be because of that 4, but it can't be in any of these positions. It can't be here, because that would force this to be a 9. This could still be a 4. I was trying to get back to where I was noting that there had to be a 4, a 5, and a 6 in these boxes, but I don't know that I can continue to pare them down. Now, like I said, we know there's no 4 over here anymore because of that 4 here, so one of these is a 4. But does that help us? I don't see how it does. I don't think we can do anything with our 15s on our region sum at the moment. Let's take a quick look at Sudoku. Just maybe there's something popping its head out and making a difference. I don't think there's going to be, because I just don't think there's enough on the board just yet. I know one of these has to be a 4 because of this and this. They're looking at these, and this one can't be a 4. So that actually does give us an X-wing on 4s. So none of these can be 4, and that can't be a 4, so one of these is a 4. Now we almost could rule this out as being a 4, because if it was a 4, this would have to be a 3 or a 5. We have a 5 here, but we can't rule out a 3 here. Is that accurate? It is, I believe, because the 9 would have to go here and 8 would go there. If this was a 4, this could be a 2, which works. Oh, it seems like it's so close to being something that's right there, but I'm like one little clue away from finding it. Is there anything more we can do with 6s, maybe? And going back to how it interacts with our German whispers. Because we've ruled out all of these from being 6s. But that seems like it's it. Well, this can't be a 6, could force this to be a 1. This can't be a 6, could force that to be a 1. So if I just prove that actually we do have a 4, 5, 6 triple here, One of these has to be a 5. We've already said that. One of these has to be a 4. We've already said that. We've just said that none of these can be 6. So one of these has to be 6. This has to be a 4, 5, 6, doesn't it? This can't be 4. And this can't be 5. So if this was either 4 or 6, these have to both be 1 or 9. And both of those are working right now. The 1 would go with the 2, the 9 would go with an 8. Nothing wrong with either of those. Okay. Can I continue putting digits in here? Kind of hesitant to start just putting in digits and then having to pare them down. We know there has to be a 1 on here, but any of these could be 1, it seems. Well, no, not necessarily. Let's look at 1. Maybe that'll give us something. We know none of these could be 1 because we've got a 1 here. This one actually can't be a 1 because I would force this to be a 2. There's a 2 here. This could be a 1. It would force this to be a 2. This could be a 1. It would force that to be a 2, and this could be a 1 and force that to be 2. So that doesn't really help me. It leaves me with 3 possibilities, but it's not quite good enough. Now, if this was a 3, well, this can't be a 3. Maybe that's where I should have looked previously. This is a 3. This has to be an 8 or a 9. Well, it can't be 8 or 9, so this is not, this is 7. Okay. Let's roll with this now and try to figure this out. Now, if this is a 7, this has to be from 1 to 1 or 2. Wow, just had a little bit of a brain fart there. Okay, there's something. There's something. That 7 doesn't do anything with the rest of this just yet. 1, 2, 3, we're not quite there. Let's look at this. I guess I'm going to have to type these in and see what comes out of it. This could be 1. It can't be 2. It could be 3. It could be 4. It could be 5. Yeah, I'm not liking this at all. And it could be 7. So that was worthless. Oh, no, it can't be 7. Let's get rid of that. But it's still not quite enough to get me anything really good on this Renban, unless there's some other digits left over I haven't looked at yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No. Okay, come on. We can get this going here. Where are we looking? This is a 4. That forces this to be a 9. Which means this could never be a 4, which means this is a 4, and this is a 9. That all works. These two would both be 9s in this instance. That would force these to be 1s. Okay. Maybe that's something we'll get to in a second when we figure this out. If we figure it out at this point. I'm kind of dragging along here. It's been a bit of a slow ride. So we're at almost 40 minutes now of trying to solve this, and I've had some good bits of movement, and then I've gotten stuck a couple of times. I wish I could rule out a 1 or force a 1 somewhere in this row, but I don't think I can because we know this can't be a 1 and this can't be a 1 because it would force either one of these to be a 2, and it's looking at a 2. But I can't rule out a 1 in either of these cases, I don't believe. No, I can't. Is it, maybe it's something else with these 4s if I go from a different direction? If this is a 4, that forces this to be a 9, which means this cannot be a 4, which means this is a 4. And so what? That works perfectly fine. Come on, there's got to be something here I'm just not seeing. Let's reset our brain for a second. Look at the clues. What do we have in these clues that we can use? No, on these German whispers, we have some ideas of highs and lows on some of them. This one we have not been able to determine it. This one we have not yet been able to determine. Could this ever be a high digit? Let's think about it for a second. Well, it can't be 7 or 8, and it can't be 6. So if this was a high digit, it would have to be a 9. Does that do anything? And maybe there are other instances where I can have a low digit that I can rule out of a certain number of places as well. If this is a 9, these all just have to be some low digits, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, if this was a 9, it would force this to be a 1. These would have to be 2 and 3. And it would have to be 2 over here and 3 over here. But that breaks it. I don't know if this is meant to be, and I'm going to make sure it's not completely wrong. Let's say this is a high digit. So 6, 7, 8, or 9. I think this breaks. I'm going to run through it just to make sure I'm not completely off my rocker. We see an 8 and a 7. This is not 8 or 7. This cannot be 6 because these would all have to be 1. So the only possible solution is for this to be a 9. If it's high. We're not saying it is. If it's high, so these have to be low. They'd have to be from 1, 2, 3, and 4. They can't be 4 because 4 is up there. They can't be from 1 because this 9 would force this to be a 1. So we have a 2, 3 pair. This one cannot be 2 because it would see that. So this one is 2. Now, this 3 would mean that this would either have to be 2 or 4, and 2 and 4 are looking at it. So I think that's right. That's interesting. I don't know if that was ever intended to be used as a part of the solve, or if I've gotten to it prematurely or something, but it looks like this has to be a low digit. 1, 2, 3, or 4, and it's not a 4. So if this is low, that forces these to be low. This has to be high. Or gives us all of this. This has to be 6. This has to be 8. Wait, did I just lose my mind here? Sorry, this is 6. This has to be 8. And this has to be 1. Yeah, I just misclicked on that one. Okay. Now this can't be 6. So therefore this can't be 5. That's a weird little thing. Like I said, I don't know if that was intended, but let's continue with it. So we know we've got low, 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 and low. So these all have to be low. Let's just put everything and then start taking out. This can't be 1 or 4 or 2, so it has to be 3. So this clearly can't be 1 or 3 now, so it has to be 2. This can't be 1. It looks like it could be 2, 3, or 4 still. Now, if this is 1, this has to be 2. That removes this possibility of 2 and actually gives us a 1 here. That 1 would do the same thing. Okay. we've got these 3 digits, which are all high digits. They have to be from 7, 8, and 9. This is not 7 or 8, so it's 9. These are not 9s. They are 7s and 8s. This 3 means this has to be the 8, and this has to be the 7. This has to be the 9. Okay, this is starting to come together now, finally. This 3 means this is either a 2 or a 4. It can't be a 2, so that is a 4. Let's get on the right page here. Let's get rid of our 4 here. So this is then a 3. That does work there. This cannot be a 4 because it forces this to be 9, so this has to be 4. Okay, keep rolling. Come on, keep rolling. The 8 gives me a 7. This has to be an 8. Let's get rid of these. Okay, are we seeing anything down into these spots yet? No. This 3 gives us our 2. These are 2 given digits now, 6 and 7. Can we make a determination there? Yes, 7 here. So this has to be 6 and 7. This has to be 1, so this has to be 1. This is a 1-2 pair that hits, and we have to have one more digit to equal 9, so this has to be 6. These 2 have to be from 7 and 9, which are not necessarily determined yet. These 2 have to be from 2. We have a 2 here, so I can just put in a 2. And that's going to give us more over here. Let's finish this first. This has to be a 5. Okay, that 2, it says, looks here, this has to be a 3, so there has to be a 4. This now has to be a 5. That's going to give us our 3 and our 5. Okay, we're working, we're working. This has to be a low digit because this is a high digit. So this, and we can't be 1, 2, or 4, so this has to be 3. That's going to tell us this is 9 and 7. This is a given 1. This is a 6 because we have a black Kropki. That 1 gives us our 4 and our 1. These 2 digits are 8 and 9. So this has to be the 8 and this has to be the 9. That works. This 7 has to go with a 6 or an 8, and there's an 8 there, so 6. This has to be 8. So far, everything's working. 1, 6, 1, 7, 2, 8, and 9 on there. The 3, the 9, the 3 all seems to be jiving. 6, 1, 9, 3 all works. This is a given digit of 9. These have to be from 2, 5, and 7. Now let's do another fact check here. These equal 14, so these have to equal 14, and they do. 2, 5, and 7 equals 14. This is working, which is, I wasn't expecting it. This is not 7. This is not 2. This is not 5, so we're going to come back to those in a minute, it looks like. This 2 is on a Renban line, so it has to be with 3 or 1, and it can't be 1, so let's put 3 and 4 in here. These 2 have to be 5 and 6. Those are given. These 3 digits have to be from 5, 7, and 8. We got a 5, 8 pair, so let's put our 7 in here. We've got an 8 here, so let's put our 5 and our 8 in, and then that's going to tell us our 7, our 2, and our 5. And we need to put a 2 somewhere, so it's got to go there. We need to put a 3 somewhere, so it's got to go there. And we need to put a 9, and it goes there. Hey, and there we go. You solved the puzzle. Solution is correct. That was interesting. As I said before, it was a lot going on, so it took me a minute to figure out where things were. And I don't know if this digit right here, and I've said this multiple times already, obviously, I don't know if this was an intended digit to look at it and go through a couple of options and see if it worked or not. Now, I don't think I took it very far. It just took it a couple of steps, and it proved to be incorrect in the way I looked at it. So it worked out. And then the second I got that, the entire puzzle just started to explode and come together. So fun puzzle, a little bit hair-raising there for a minute. I wasn't sure if I'd quite finish it because I was getting stuck multiple times, but enjoyed it. Everything worked out. Tons going on, but it was fun to do. Thank you, Timotab, for making that, and I hope you all enjoy this one. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.